Everybody, chat with Nobody Else's Auto. It's 7 o'clock Sunday evening, time for Sundays, and get on with us, and we'll get rolling here shortly. Got to hang out with them a little bit this weekend at the swap meet. William's on. Dan from Defiance is on. So, already got our group jumping on with us on YouTube. We'll give Facebook a few more seconds here and let them start getting their notifications, and we can start rolling there too. And I got to kind of refigure our Facebook's kind of giving me a different screen again, kind of like it did a few weeks ago. So I may have to work with that a little bit. There we go. Kevin's on with us. Glad you made it, Kevin. So it looks like we've got Facebook rolling as well now. So glad everybody made it back. Thanks for coming back by and hanging out with us tonight. We've got an awesome group of people hanging out with us on a pretty regular basis, and glad you all made it. Hopefully we have a good feed tonight on Facebook. Numbers are jumping up over there, so hopefully it's working. Stan just got on with us on there. We got Ironhead on with us on YouTube. Glad you made it back, Ironhead. But Kevin's on with us on Facebook as well, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that Facebook cooperates tonight. It's been kind of spotty the past few weeks. It'll work great one week, and the next week it won't work for the crap. So we're just going to have to roll that and see what happens. We got Glenn from Minnesota on, one of our regulars. Robert's on with us. Glad you made it. Jerry from New Mexico. Scott's on with us. Old School just jumped on YouTube, as well as our friend Lee from New York. Glad you made it, Lee. Scott's back on with us on Facebook. Another one of our regulars. Glad you made it. Vic's on with us as well. So great to see a lot of familiar faces on here again. It's like I said, it still amazes me that you guys come back every week, but I'm glad you do, and we're having a lot of fun. But you are the guys because of the fact that you do it, that's what makes this work. Billy from Texas just got on with us. Old School, yes, the drawing is today for the Auburn pieces. We are going to give away those super cool the two Auburn hubcaps and the ID tag a little bit later in the episode. And we're going to announce the new raffle for May. So stay tuned for that. We'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. Give those away and do the new announcements. The new announcement kind of pains me. The piece we're going to do this month, I actually got it at the Lawrence swap meet yesterday with full intentions. And that's why I bought it. But now that I've been staring at it for a day, it's like, man, I don't know if I can give this thing away. So I'm going to have to show it to you tonight. So I'm committed. Austin's on with us. Scott says it is freezing on his end on YouTube. We may have some YouTube feed issues. Thanks for that, Scott. So if you have YouTube feed issues, you can always jump over to, Facebook feed issues. You can always watch on YouTube, still comment on Facebook. If we've got some freezing issues on Facebook, sometimes Facebook can end up 30 or 40 seconds behind YouTube. So when we get into those issues, especially with trivia and things like that, it makes it a little tricky. So thanks for throwing that up there, Scott. Let me know. Hopefully it'll clear up. Rob just got on with us. Rob's a new one on Facebook. Glad you made it. Jesse from Florida. Don from Nashville here. Don saying the same thing. He's got some cutout on Facebook. He's going to try to jump over onto YouTube and watch over there as well. So if we continue having feed problems on Facebook, please jump over to YouTube, watch over there. Like I said, if you don't have a YouTube account, just go ahead and comment on Facebook. I'll try to keep up with it there. So yeah, and Kevin's same thing on Facebook. Lots of stuff popping up on YouTube as well. Jason checking in from Northeast Missouri. Old School with a K instead of an SCH. Found a 50 Pontiac today, and he made a video on it, so it's probably up on YouTube. James is back on with us on YouTube. Glad you made it. Chris is back. Ironhead says must be a great piece. It's not like a super awesome piece, but the condition is just awesome. And like I said, I've been staring at it all day. I was like, I bought it for a raffle. I promised it in here to you guys, so I'm trying to stick with that. I don't have anything else for a backup plan on my desk, so I'm kind of stuck. I kind of committed myself that way. Mike Shook, YouTube and Facebook are both not working 100% for him tonight, so hopefully our YouTube feed does keep up. Thomas from Georgia's on with us. Let's see. Bill Twitchell got on. I was glad you're here, Bill. Don from Nashville just jumped over onto YouTube, so hopefully that will continue working. Scott did the same thing. So if we do continue to have feed issues on Facebook, please jump over to YouTube, catch it over there. And like I said, you can always still comment on Facebook, and I will keep up with that since I've got 2 monitors up now. Michael just got on with us as well. Glad you're here. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get boogieing tonight. And hope the systems cooperate, which sometimes can be a challenge, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Like I mentioned earlier, Lawrence Swap Meet was this weekend. Thomas says he's got good YouTube, so YouTube is ticking. Seems to be a lot better than Facebook tonight. But Lawrence Swap Meet, Lawrence, Kansas, a pretty regular one. It's been there for years and years and years. George got on with us on Facebook. Thanks for swinging by, George. I know you're one of our regulars as well. But Lawrence Swap Meet, Douglas County Fairgrounds, Lawrence, Kansas, been going for years. I remember going there in the late 80s. Scott just threw a link up on Facebook. Thanks, Scott. I sure appreciate that. Thanks for helping me out and helping everybody else out if they're having trouble with the feed. That's great. That's awesome, dude. Thanks for taking care of that for me. Gerardo, any good square bodies? There again, it's a pretty vague question. And getting into the specifics of that, there's thousands and thousands of different square bodies. So best thing to do is give me a shout after we get done so we can go over the details of exactly what you're looking for and what you need. But like I said, Lawrence Swap Meet's been going on forever, as long as I can remember. I remember going, like I said, in the late 80s. We used to set up there in the late 80s, early 90s, up into about the mid 90s. But we've always still tried to go back. Last year, it was one of those deals where they did got the plug pulled on it last year, which really stunk. But there again, we all dealt with that on everything last year. Fortunately, it did go off this year. It went off well this year. Not as packed with vendors as I would have thought, but I did amazingly well. Scott was there with us. I didn't run into Scott, but he said he did real well too. Picked up some Mustang parts since he's one of our Mustang guys on here. But overall, very happy with the swap meet. Like I said, definitely would have liked to have seen more vendors there. And I don't know if people were just kind of testing the waters, waiting to see if it was really going to go, or wait and see if it really took off this year and was going to start gaining steam again and kind of get back to where it was before they decided to come back. But overall, like I said, definitely not the amount of vendors that Lawrence typically has. Gerardo says it is still continuing to freeze on Facebook. So yeah, if we continue with the Facebook issues, guys, you can jump over to YouTube and watch there and still comment on Facebook. Our friend Scott threw the link up for you on Facebook as well. So Jess was there. I did get to see Rico and Jess both. Jess said they got some good stuff. Robert Seaburns, my good buddy, the hubcap guy, Robert, says that YouTube is better for him. Facebook's been a problem tonight for him as well. Old school, yes, I do have you in the raffle. Bill Twitcher jumped on us on YouTube as well. Glad you guys are all switching over. Don't know what the deal is with Facebook tonight, but obviously it's an issue. So we're going to keep trucking. If it continues to have problems on Facebook, just jump over to YouTube or try to ride it out. Kevin did the same thing. So maybe YouTube's going to be our ticket tonight instead of Facebook. But overall, I was extremely pleased with the swap meet. My dad and I went. I had a good time. Got to see some good friends. Got to hang out with my good friend Phil Skinner with the Edsel group. My Edsel buddy Phil Skinner does a lot of riding for Old Cars Weekly. Works a lot of the auctions. He was coming back from the Auburn sale, so he came to the swap meet. Got to hang out with him for a little bit, and got to see another one of my friends. So actually, some of my other good friends I ran into in Lawrence as well. Got to hang out with all of them a little bit, which is always great. So obviously, that always makes for a good weekend. But we found a ton of parts too. I did post some pictures of just the piles in the back of the truck and on the trailer. We did get that stuff sorted today. Got it unloaded and halfway sorted, I guess. It's not all sorted. But a lot of good stuff there. Got a couple comments popping up. We just as well get into that real quick while everybody's commenting on the head behind me. It is a flathead, but it is not your typical flathead. That's probably what everybody's realizing. It is just a flathead type cylinder head. It is a very thin head. So thin, in fact, that they're an issue. There is a couple of small holes in this head. That's why it is not usable. It's not a good head. Gerardo says he can't click on the link. You can always go to YouTube and just punch up Nobody's Show on YouTube, and you can jump on with us there if the link isn't getting you there. We talked about that head a little bit, several weeks ago on Toy Tuesday. That's another piece I got from my good friend Doug Prey at the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. What that cylinder head is a flathead off of a flathead V8 cord, 36, 37, 810, 812 cord. Some were just regular naturally aspirated engines. However, they also offered a supercharged version of that flathead engine. So you're right, Ironhead. It is a great wall hanger. That's why we wanted one. It is very unique. Yes, Kevin, it is aluminum as well. But definitely a different piece. These crosshatch designs in it, I assume that was probably for strength. Like I said, this thing isn't maybe a half-inch thick up here at the top edge, so it's a pretty thin head. But it's a super cool piece, and like a lot of the stuff we talk about, man cave conversation type pieces, and this is original cord stuff. In 1936, 1937, they made 2,800 and some odd cord 810 and 812s. So not a real common car, obviously. They do reproduce these heads because, like, there's a little hole over here. They had cooling systems would corrode them from the inside and eat them out. So they do. There are new ones out there that are more advanced that look the same but hold up a little better than the originals. But it is a great wall hanger, and I love the piece. I see we got Jill and Doug on with us as well. So thanks for being here tonight, guys. But super cool piece, and that's there again. It's almost kind of a mystery piece, and that's what's kind of cool about it because most people don't know what it is, except for, we got Doug Prey on here with us. Doug knows what it is, obviously, but, most people are not going to recognize that, which is also what makes it an even cooler man cave piece because it's a good conversation piece. And obviously the coffin nose cord, iconic design, legendary design, and absolutely gorgeous, stunning design. So that's a great piece. Tyler, it's a 1936 and 1937 was that era of cord, and they were commonly called the coffin nose. They were called, the models were the 810 and the 812, but absolutely stunning cars and a neat piece. So that's what that head is. Glad some of you guys caught that and pointed it out. But conversation piece because a couple of you guys asked about it right at the same time. So. And that's right, Robert Gordon, another Gordon Buick design on the cord, the coffin nose cord. And like I said, if you ever get the opportunity to look at one of those cars up close, I strongly encourage it. I've seen a handful of them in my day, and they are absolutely amazing works of art. And not only are they works of art, but the technology in the 36 and 37 cord is mind-boggling when you consider what they did with that car in the mid-30s. They went into production in 36. So a lot of this development happened in 32, 33, 34, 35. Supercharged front-wheel drive. I mean, things that we didn't even hear of for decades after that. And they put them into production and sold them. They were building them and selling them. So there again, super cool story. Stay tuned if you haven't caught some of the videos with our new friend Doug Prey and the stuff they've got going on at the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory. Be sure to do that. They've got a Facebook page. You can check that under the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory, and they've also got a website. So be sure to check them out and stay tuned. We've got actually this week a super cool video coming out on the front wheel drive part of that cord. So stay tuned for that on Friday night. That's going to be awesome too. And that I don't remember. I don't remember what the manufacturer suggested retail price was in 36 or 37, but they were obviously a premium luxury car, so they weren't cheap. But it's a neat piece. So that's thought we go ahead and catch that while everybody was asking about it. So there's kind of the nickel tour on the cylinder head that we have for decoration this week. Kind of like a valve cover, but kind of not, but still awesome and a great looking decorator piece. So anyway, but back to finishing up with the Lawrence swap meet. Like I said, so I did see several of you there. Several of you came up and said hi, which is always great. And so that's always a good time. And it's always great to meet you guys and hear about what you're doing and what you've got going on, because we're all here for the same reason. It's just all about cars. We love them. That's why we're here. Mr. Z wants to know how much coffee I drink. I don't drink any coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. I can't stand coffee. So the answer to that is 0, no coffee. But we did pick up a lot of stuff. Like I said, I've got a bunch of pictures to post on Facebook. I'll hopefully get most of that stuff this week. Scott says YouTube is working a lot better than Facebook. So John from Washington just jumped on Facebook as well. And no Red Bull either. I had a Mountain Dew this morning when I first got to the shop. That's the only thing I've had today. So Joe from Illinois is on with us. Glad you made it. James, how much horsepower were they pushing? That I'm not sure. We do have some videos that Doug and I did actually on the engines on the cord. And that's, like I said, that's some of the cool stuff that's coming up that we shot that Doug took some time with us. We've got this awesome video that we shot where Doug actually had a overhauled supercharged engine and transmission on a stand. We get to do a whole walk around on that, and he points a lot of that stuff out. So all these questions about the Cord engines, a lot of that stuff is coming up in the future episodes that we're going to post that we shot with Doug at the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory. So George is on with us. And like Robert says, next swap meet coming up, Springfield #1 is coming up here at the end of May. That is also the same weekend as the Hutch #1, Hutchinson, Kansas swap meet. Same weekend, May 21st, 22nd, right in there. So be sure to mark those on your calendars as well. And stay tuned. Like I said, lots of pictures coming up. I bought a ton of stuff. 65 to 67 GTO hood with no rust. Early 70s Dodge pickup, new takeoff tailgate. This thing looks beautiful. I almost want to hang it in the shop. It looks so nice. Still even has the big white Dodge sticker on the side of it, on one side of it. That's a cool piece. 46 to 48 Olds grill, 60 Chevy pickup grill, 64 to 66 Chevy big truck grill, which you can put into a pickup for a different look in the pickup. What else did I buy? 66 Fairlane taillights. Got some new toys. Got one new sign for the collection. 57 GMC pickup grill and front bumper with pods. That's a pretty tough piece to find. 78, 79 Malibu header panel and front fenders. Jess says is a Hutch swap meet pretty good. It grows regularly. It's a good solid little swap meet, and it continues to grow. Mr. MZ wants to know what my IQ is. That I have no idea. I don't know what my IQ is, but I know we like to talk about cars, and that's why we're hanging out here. So that's fun. Old School says, how do I remember everything I have? Is it documented? Nope. None of it's documented. It's almost impossible to document it. So Randy's on with us. Glad you made it tonight, Randy. So lots of cool stuff. Going to be a ton of cool pictures coming up. Like I said, some toys, including one I'm going to show you in a little bit, and some magazines. My dad bought a ton of stuff as well. Dad got a set of 71 to 76 Chevy full-size fender skirts. Those are tough pieces. What else did he buy? Some 56 Olds parts. We both bought tons of badges and emblems. Going to be a lot of that stuff popping up on the pictures. I've got pictures of all of his stuff as well, so we'll show you all that. Like I said, there's going to be several posts of the stuff we drug in from the Lawrence swap meet this weekend, but we did have a great time. I did buy some mid-70s Chevy plastic grills as well for full-size cars. I'm just trying to kind of roll off memory on some of the highlight stuff that we picked up. But like I said, overall, had a great time. And like I said, it's great seeing a lot of you, especially some of you that I'd never met before that took a minute to say hi. And I really appreciate that as well. Like I said, overall, even though the swap meet wasn't as big as it had been in the past, like I said, maybe people were just kind of waiting to see if it was. They announced about 6 weeks ago they were going to go with it, but I'm wondering if some people just said, well, we'll see if it actually takes back off or if it just kind of falls flat. And so hopefully next year it will fill back up again. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of pictures from that coming up. And like I said, if you see something on the pictures you need or you're interested in, just give me a shout. And we can sure talk about it. I'll have my number on the post. And when I post Dad's stuff, I'll put his number on there so you can call him if there's something in his stuff that you're interested in. couple of interesting things I noticed this week in the business, or in the old car world, I guess. A couple of things I thought I'd bring to your attention that would make interesting topics to talk about for a little bit. I found a helmet that's coming up for auction. We talk a lot about automobilia on here, man cave collectibles, old car stuff. There's a helmet going up for auction that's a pretty amazing piece. Classic Ride Society just got here. Glad you made it. Except he asks, how was the Lawrence swap meet? Well, you're about 30 seconds too late. We spent about the last 5 minutes on the Lawrence swap meet, Classic Ride Society, but overall it was good. Had a great time, saw a lot of new friends, so it went well. You can go back and catch some more of that here after we get done. Billy, the cylinder head, we just caught that as well. That is a Cord V8, 810, 812, 36, 37 era, 1936, 1937 era Cord, 810, 812, V8 aluminum flathead cylinder head for one of those Cords. So that's what it is, Billy. We talked about that quite a little bit ago too. So after we get done, jump back in and catch the first part of this episode where we covered the Cord cylinder head, and we talked about a lot of really cool Cord content that we've got coming up that our friend Doug Prey was willing to spend a lot of time with us and really explain some of the super awesome details about those Cords. So lots more coming up on that, and be sure to go back and check out with the discussion on the cylinder head. But really super cool piece of man cave memorabilia coming up for auction. The Bell crash helmet worn by Steve McQueen during the 1971 filming of Le Mans. So I thought that article kind of stood out. So I did I dove into it a little bit and did a little bit of checking. And actually it says it is documented that it was worn by Steve McQueen, but it was also worn by several of the other actors in the movie. Now, it talked a little bit about the whole situation. It said that they filmed a lot of that during the 1970 running of Le Mans, and Steve McQueen was actually supposed to race in the race. And any of us that know Steve McQueen or have read about Steve McQueen or studied him, he loved fast cars. He loved fast motorcycles, and he wanted to do all of this stuff. He would race anything. He would ride anything. He would drive anything, and he wanted to race in the race. But the insurance company wouldn't let him. So he was too valuable to put him into that situation in a full competition situation. And, and I've heard a lot of stories about that. I know there was one situation where I heard where he was in a movie and he was supposed to do a motorcycle jump. And of course they wouldn't let him do it. They made the stunt man do it. So after they shot the clip and everybody went to take a break, he went and got on the motorcycle and did the jump himself anyway, just to prove that he could do it. So, but the insurance company wouldn't let him actually race in the 1970 Le Mans event. But, so they've shot a lot of the footage there, and then they did a lot of their own shooting after that for the clips, in car, things like that they had to splice together. It said that even then the film was was $1.5 million over budget, even doing it that way, even taking a lot of the footage from the actual race. But it says the helmet was worn by a Swiss actor, Fred Haltener, and who was actually supposed to be teammates with McQueen's character. Yeah, like Old School says, that would be crazy if he did actually run the race, but the insurance company would have let him. But from the stories you hear about that guy, I guarantee you he would have done it, hands down. But the auction listing does say that McQueen did don the helmet during filming along with a few other racers. And it is documented by, they have pictures and things of McQueen with the helmet. And then the helmet after the filming was signed by 13 drivers and actors, including Dr. Wolfgang Porsche. So, super cool piece of racing memorabilia, awesome man cave piece. And it's going up for auction, actually, along with some gloves and pictures of McQueen with the helmet, by a company called, this is something I haven't heard of, and I think it's European, Automobilia Ladenburg Auction. But this says the bidding starts, and it has the bidding in euros. And but it also gives it in American dollars. The opening bid is $21. So that's not a cheap piece of memorabilia. But then the other thing is you don't know where it's going to end either. So, but a really cool piece, something that kind of stood out to me as an interesting topic to at least throw at you guys. And if you're interested, you can look it up. They do have pictures of the helmet online and things like that. Just a super cool piece. That's right, old school. The Bullet Mustang did sell for $3.4 million at Kissimmee last year. So yeah, that was a neat deal too to see that car sell. Some other interesting old car news that I saw pop up this week, and I'm sure some of you saw this because it was on about every old car website out there about a month ago, that one of the Chrysler Turbine cars was on the market. Now, obviously, were never a lot of these Turbine cars. They were made in 1963, and they built 50 of them. They were a study exercise. Is this feasible? Is this possible? Can this be done, economically for mass production? So that was what the Chrysler Turbine car was. It was a test. They built 50 cars, 9 exist, and Chrysler still owns a few of those. So Robert's on with us. Yeah, that is a flathead, Robert. That is a flathead off of a cord. After we get done, be sure to jump back into the chat and catch that a little bit earlier when we went over had a discussion over the cord head. So, but one of the Turbine cars came to market here just about a month ago. Like I said, it popped up everywhere, and but I just found this article this morning that they did announce the buyer of the car. It did sell, and it was just revealed of where the car ended up. And where it is going, or where it's at, is at the Stalls Auto Museum in Chesterfield, Michigan. That's right, Chris. Jay Leno does have one of those. It's in this article. We were going to get to that too here shortly. And Robert says it was Ghia-bodied and designed by Elwood Engel was who designed that. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Chrysler Turbine cars. If not, look them up. They're an awesome looking car, and they're super neat. But the Stalls Auto Museum, STAHL, Stalls Auto Museum in Chesterfield, Michigan, is who bought the car. They've actually had the car delivered, and they had a big black plastic wall up around it that they just revealed the car. They said there are 9 surviving examples, and the car is going to be on display with another extremely rare car of which about 50 were built also in the Stahl collection. It's going to be displayed with their Tucker. They own Tucker number 1015, and they do have full intentions of making sure the car does continue to stay in running condition. So obviously it must be quite a collection. And if you're in that area or ever in the area of Chesterfield, Michigan, it's probably going to be something worth checking out. So, but this article was kind of interesting. It did touch on a little bit of some of the details of it that I thought we'd catch real quick tonight, just in case some of you guys are interested. But Chrysler actually began developing that technology in 1953. And I've seen a little bit of this. They actually went all the way up into about 1980, still working on turbine technology, just trying to see if it was viable. Scott says he thought he saw a video of them destroying their remaining turbine-powered cars. I haven't seen that, but most of them were destroyed. I think there's 9 left, so they must have destroyed 41 of them, I'm guessing. And there may have been some old footage out there of when that happened. I don't know. I've never seen that, but it might be something worth looking into if you're interested in that stuff. But almost 50 years of development in the turbine program, going all the way up into the early 80s, but just never really took off. But kind of the pinnacle of it were the 63 turbine cars, the fleet of 50, and they left them out it's just from 63 to 66 is when the program ran. They would loan them out to different people. They would test them. They would check the feasibility of them. They would do studies on them. Kevin says, was Mopar involved? It was Chrysler. It was the Chrysler turbine car. So yeah, it was Mopar. Robert says it was sold to the federal government as part of the bankruptcy agreement. So when Lee Iacocca negotiated the loans with the federal government, that must be when the development stopped. So thanks for throwing that up there, Robert. That's a good point that they did not have in there. Chris says Elwood Engel came to Chrysler from Ford, and he designed the same era of T-Bird. So the turbine car looks a lot like the 61 to 63 T-Bird, and that would make sense. There are some similar styling cues and they were both personal luxury coupes, so that definitely makes some sense. Robert says he lives pretty close to there. So have you been to the Stahl collection, Robert? That would be it sounds like a great museum. I did a little bit of research on them online today, but don't have a lot of any firsthand knowledge of it. Scott says in the video they were unloading them off the truck with a forklift, cutting them up and crushing them. Wow. And that happened to a lot of those cars back in the day, a lot of design cars, a lot of prototypes. That happened to a lot of that stuff. Old School says he found a guy with a Durant he wants to try to make a video of. That would be a cool piece too. Obviously, Durants weren't around very long either. However, this article says that the turbine technology had very promising results. It did work. However, the economic side of it did not. The average car, the average price tag to produce each vehicle was about 10 grand. So about 3 times the amount of your typical run-of-the-mill sedan in the early 60s. So that obviously just didn't pan out. It says when the program ended, the cars were returned to Chrysler, which kept 3 of them, and museums received 6 others. So that would lead back to the video of those 41 cars that Scott referenced that he found where they were destroying them, because it says they were sent to a local scrapyard and destroyed. Chrysler still owns 2 of the turbines. The third car was sold to Jay Leno after the Walter P. Chrysler Museum closed about a decade ago. So I'm assuming Chrysler still has some, and they had the one in the museum is what I assume is the one they sold to Leno, which would be this car right here. These are some pictures that I took when I was at the Walter P. Chrysler Museum back in about 2000, 2001. So I'm assuming that this is the car that they're referencing that Chrysler did sell to Jay Leno. That was back when I worked for Chrysler, when I had to go to Detroit about once or twice a year for meetings. So I did actually get to the Walter P. Chrysler Museum twice. And that's where I took the pictures of that car. So the way I read in this article, that's the car that Leno has now. Chrysler still owns 3 of them. Robert says, yes, he has been to that museum. So if it's, I assume it's pretty impressive from what I'm seeing on the internet, and they're adding a turbine car to add next to their Tucker. But so sounds like a pretty impressive deal. Jay's got all the cool cars. That's true. Chris made another point. The turbine car would run on many types of fuel, even vodka. So Scott says Google Chrysler crushing turbine cars and several videos pop up. So it must be, those videos must be on YouTube. Robert said same technology as turbine trains. So, and I don't know much about turbine trains, but I'm sure it is probably just different scale on sizes. So, but the other 6 cars that Chrysler let go were given to the Detroit of LA, which is now the Peterson Museum, which I'm sure most of us have heard of, as well as the Museum of Transportation near St. Louis and the Harem Collection Museum in Reno. So the one, and then of course the Harem Collection was sold out after Bill Harem passed away in the late 70s. Most of his vehicles were auctioned off, including his turbine car, which was actually bought by Tom Monaghan of Domino's Pizza. So that's where that one at one point ended up. The Domino's Pizza guys, Tom Monaghan, I think, sold the car in the late 80s. And I believe that is this car. And then that is this car here that we are talking about now. So it has changed hands again. It says that the car is beautifully preserved with original paint, original tires, original wheel covers, and basically it's an untouched car that has been well preserved over all of these years. So, really neat. Obviously when that car came to market, there was a lot of stuff. I seen it pop up all over the internet. Obviously a turbine car, there's with 9 of them left, and they are iconic. They were something that was new, and for Chrysler to actually build those cars, put them out in the public, and actually test them, then that's what was neat about it. So when that car came to market, it was a pretty big deal. So when I found the article that talked about where it went, I was excited to share that with you, and I hope you guys liked it too, because it's such an iconic car. And obviously, it sounds like Robert's going to get to go see it because it's right up in his neck of the woods. So that's what maybe he's going to be the first one on here to get to check it out. So if you go see it, Robert, let us know how it looks. But that led me to another question that about this museum. So I did look it up a little bit, and real quick, the Stahl Automotive Foundation, it is a 501c3, and I looked up the to see what they did, and they actually are like in garment printing and clothing. The Stahl company, Stahl, started in the early 30s, and so that's what it. That's where they come. That's what they do, and that's how they've built this collection. But pretty impressive when I just flipped through it's just some of the highlights of some of their collection. In 1860s, they're a Stagecoach, 1907 Thomas Flyer, 1912 Rolls Royce, 1923 Duesenberg, 1929 Stutz, 1930 Cadillac V16, a 34 Duesenberg, a 35 Chrysler Airflow, 37 Cord, 812 Sportsman, which would have a cylinder head on it just like that. A 48 Tucker, 54 Kaiser Darren. They've got an Amphicar. They've got a Cobra. They've got a large collection of gas pump signs, automobilia, as well as an organ collection. So a little bit of a twist to it there on the music side of it, but some very fascinating, very beautiful organs they had on their website. So obviously Robert's been there, and so he would have some firsthand knowledge of it. But sounds like a really cool place to check out if you're ever up in the Chesterfield, Michigan area. If nothing else, see a Tucker and see a Turbine car in one shot. So that's something not a lot of people get the chance to do. Chris says he did get to the Harem Museum before they closed, and he was there for hours. But and like I said, that closed I think in '78, and I was born in '74, so that was something that I never had the opportunity to check out. But like I said, obviously I've heard a lot about it since then. So Robert says he'll take a video in there if they'll let him. He said that place is a fortress. So they must have a pretty good security system in there, which I'm sure they do with the type of vehicles and stuff they have. But sounds like it's a great collection and definitely worth checking out. So we've still got a few guys left on Facebook. It looks like most of them have switched over to YouTube, but I don't know if we're still having feed issues on Facebook, but if we are, you can always jump over to YouTube. We seem to be rolling pretty well over there. Who's ready to get into a magazine? Let's check out another issue of Motor Trend tonight. We'll check out the Motor Trend. We'll do some trivia. We'll get into the raffle. We'll talk about some new inventory, and then we'll talk about some videos that are coming up. But let's get rolling into tonight's magazine. That's right. Old School says it's mag time. That's right. We've got the August of 1978 issue of Motor Trend. It's so great. The magazines we look at a wide variety. We look at some custom car magazines from the 50s and 60s, and we can look at what the culture was doing at that time. We look at some of these type of magazines, which were talking about the new cars at the time, which are now the old cars that we're familiar with. So many cool stuff. Robert says their Tucker is great. So like I said, sounds like a great place. Definitely worth checking out. Thanks for the input on that, Robert. It's always great when we talk about something like that to have somebody on with us with firsthand knowledge of it. So Billy says he was at Harris right before it closed and they were down to one building. He said all in all they had about 9 buildings. It said in that article that at one time they were up to like 1,400 cars in that collection. So yeah, I could see it had to probably been at least 9 buildings. So, yeah, unfortunately, like I said, before my time, something I never got to experience, but it sounds like you guys that did see it were really impressed with it, which would have been super cool. But tonight's issue of Motor Trend, we can see on the cover, they've got a Lotus on there, something kind of different. But let's get into this and check it out. One thing I did that was really interesting in this issue of Motor Trend, and I'm sure probably most of them, we kind of look at a lot of different titles as we're going through these, but there is a section of the Motor Trend called the Detroit Report, and we've caught some of these in some of the other issues of Motor Trend. But the Detroit Report is several pages of short clips of news about, at the time, new cars. So this little clip really kind of made me chuckle. Small Chevette makes big gains. If Chevette sales are any indication of American car buyers' taste, or any indication, American car buyers' tastes are finally beginning to swing to the small, economical end of the scale. Now, we're talking about Chevettes, and this is the next paragraph. Chevette sales have been so good this year that Chevy has had a tough time keeping up with the demand. So, Robert says he was alive when this one was printed. So, but it's kind of weird to think, Chevettes have kind of been scoffed for years, that they were so popular at this point that they were really literally worried about keeping up with demand, to the extent that reports from Motown tell us that Chevy production people are scurrying about gathering new manufacturing equipment for their Flint, Michigan plant to ensure a steady supply of the 1.6 liter engines for the Chevette. They were that worried about Chevette production getting out of hand. So there again, hindsight's 2020, but at the time they were literally worried about being able to produce enough engines to keep up with the Chevette demand. Another blurb in this one, and I know we got my good buddy Robert Seaburns on. This is right in his area. The 1979 Dodge St. Regis. I know Robert's a Magnum fan, so he likes this era of Mopar. But the St. Regis was kind of a little fancier car that was styled similarly to the Dodge Magnum. Old school. My aunt had an '85 Chevette. The Chevettes in Brazil are nice, totally different car, and and that happens a lot. A lot of times when there's the same name in a different car in different markets, but Chevettes around here, as we know them, not exactly what we think of as the greatest thing out there. But now they're kind of neat. They're kind of different. So, see, Glenn says, yeah. So Glenn says Facebook is still being a problem, and they're only getting every other couple words. So Glenn, if you want to just jump over to YouTube, just go to YouTube. You don't have to sign up for anything. Punch in Nobody's Show, and you can jump on with me there as well. Let's see, AMC Rebel. Yeah, those are neat cars too. Robert says he graduated from high school in Wayne County, Michigan in '79. So this is right in your era. David says, how to double the value of a Chevette. Put gas in it is what I'm guessing, but or change the oil in it, something like that is what I would say. But there again, not the most popular car out there. However, my buddy Mike Keller at Big Creek did build a super cool '78 Chevette with a turbo 4-cylinder Cadillac in it. So there's a few cool things being done with it. My good buddy Chad Reynolds with Bank Shift, he wants to do something similar to that. So there's a few people who kind of want to start doing some Chevelles or some Chevette stuff. What else was going on? Randy had a '76 Chevette that he purchased in '78. So got some old Chevette drivers on here with us as well. Buick V6 changes for '79. Obviously, I don't think we've touched on it too much. I've actually got a '78 Turbo Regal that was my first school car. In '79, they were making some slight modifications to the heads and making them breathe a little bit better. Of course, they were still no rocket ships by any means at all. They don't do they were not performance cars. Mine was a turbocharged 4-barrel 231 V6. And they were not quick. You think about the Turbo Buicks, you think of Grand Nationals, which were really quick. But these cars, these early turbos were not. However, it was the beginning of the turbo technology in mass-produced automobiles, which today is so common. But the other thing in '79 is the new Riviera that came out in '79. The Turbo V6 was available in the new Riviera as well. So there were some changes coming in that arena, as well as it being offered in a Century Turbo Coupe. So there again, we're looking back 40 years ago, and this is all new news. Turbos today, everybody's using them. They're all over the place. Turbo changes in 1979 was news, big news. Something else that was big news in 1979 was Camaro reaches a milestone. on May 11th, the 2 millionth Camaro left the assembly line in Van Nuys. So that was a pretty big deal. Obviously, Camaros are still popular today. And so that's what, that's when they reached that milestone, was in 1979, that the 2 millionth Camaro, just a little over 10 years. So, kind of crazy to think about that. So let's see what else was cool in this issue. They did have an article on the Lotus. Obviously, they had the Lotus on the cover. And, this is a little bit outside of the arena of what we typically cover, but they were kind of neat cars. But one of the things that did really stand out in the Lotus article were a couple things to me. Actually, we talk a lot about the kind of performance they had in the late 70s when we get into these magazines from the 70s. But the performance data on these Lotuses, which were strictly performance and sports cars, and we talk a lot about the quarter mile times and the performance on a lot of different vehicles that we look at in these road tests. The standing quarter mile for the Lotus Esprit was a 16.6 at 84 miles an hour. Not exactly a rocket ship. The Lotus Eclat was 17 seconds, and the Lotus Elite, was actually, they didn't even run in on the quarter. So that's what. It was kind of interesting that when you look at even the performance of sports cars weren't quick back at that point. Old School says in 88, Isuzu I-Marks had a handling by Lotus badges on them. Well, that's kind of an interesting mix. But and of course, a lot of these sports cars aren't necessarily quarter mile rocket ships, but 16.6, 17-second quarters. There's a lot of four cylinders that are a lot quicker than that today. But yeah, performance in 1979. That's exactly that's about the only way to sum that up. The coolest thing about the Lotus article, though, was this illustration. They had a great cutaway illustration on all three models: the Eclat, and the Esprit, and the Elite. All three of them. They had a really, really super cool cutaway. And you got to remember, this is before CGI and all that other stuff. Somebody probably had to draw these or something, or maybe they had something they could do fancy, but it was a really, really great illustration to really show these cars off and really stand out. So that was kind of the coolest thing about the Lotus article in this issue. Some other cool stuff in this issue, and I know we've got some G-Body fans on here with us, the 78 to 87 Motors G-Body platform. This was a really great one, a classy Devil in not so basic black. The GMC Diablo. GMC obviously always made the Sprint version of the El Camino. They made the Diablo in this for 79. I don't know if we can tell it or not. Had the big, huge hood decal on it. A really neat car. And there again, a lot of it was a graphics package and trim package. But what was really interesting about this car, and I'll try to show you guys the picture. I hope it stands out on the screen. But if we look right here at the interior shot, bench seat with a 4-speed in a 79 GMC Diablo. So I thought that was a really, really interesting concept to have a 4-speed in one of those cars. Probably not very many of those were ever made. 65 F100 just jumped on with us in Michigan. Glad you made it tonight. Once again, the road test data on the GMC Diablo pickup, if it ran an 18.1 in the quarter mile, and that was with a 350 V8 4-speed. So once again, not a rocket ship, but a really neat car. I believe most of these were two-tone black with like a gold bottom and gold stripes, if I remember correctly. But a neat car, something you definitely don't see out there anymore. Very seldom do you come across them, and they're a great piece. Couple comments popping up. Randy says those were no hand drawn. I started training in engineering for exploded drawing in 79. So Randy actually has some experience with that stuff. So that's cool. There again, that's what's so great about this chat, is having you guys on here that do have a lot more insight to some of the stuff than I do. And you can tell us what you know, and we can share it with everybody. That's what's so great about all your guys' support that have been on here tonight. Billy says he's seen a couple of Chevettes with small block shoehorned in them. They were a handful. Yeah, I'm sure they probably were. I know I've mentioned it on here before, but I've seen some guys take a Chevette and put a 327 with a 1471 blower on it. That was an interesting concept too, and that was a handful. I don't know if it ever did make it down the track, but that's right. Ironhead loves the 4-speed as well. So it's probably a Saginaw in that era. It definitely could have been. But I thought that was a really cool article. And don't worry, there's more G-bodies to come. Obviously, this was the beginning of the era of the G-body era, and super, super popular cars at that time, all the way up through the late 80s, early 90s. Then they kind of went into their lull as being old used cars. But today, obviously, the G-body is coming back extremely strong, one of the most popular cars on the market. And really, I think, my personal opinion, over the next several years, is going to be a big, big factor in the collector car world as trends continue to shift. But another article we had in here, another G-body, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. And there again, these were great looking cars. They didn't perform real well, but they were great looking cars. They were comfortable to drive, and they looked good. So they were a neat car for the time and extremely popular. Glenn says Facebook is totally frozen up at this point. So I don't know what the issue is with Facebook tonight, but it is obviously absolutely not cooperating. So hopefully maybe it'll free up, or maybe we can get YouTube, see a few more of you guys over to YouTube and see if it will, if it's going to continue to work. But one thing about this Cutlass that was kind of interesting when I looked at specifications on it, this was a V8, but it was a 260 V8. So a real small V8 that was fairly common back in the day. Obviously not a rocket ship, blistering through the quarter mile in 20.6 seconds at 66 miles an hour. But, if you remember back in the late 70s, the Cutlass was literally one of the hottest cars on the market. I don't think they could build Cutlasses fast enough. In fact, it says GM's best-selling intermediate for 77 was the Cutlass. Very, very popular. Robert says his mom has an 86 El Camino with a 305 4-wheel and 36,000 miles on it. That'd be a great piece, definitely. And that's right. Like Scott says, not only are G-bodies popular as the generation shifts, but lowriders love them. They're great drag cars. That's true. That was that platform. And not only that, but that platform was heavily, heavily used for circle burners to go out and run dirt tracks with. So yeah, the G-body platform was very versatile, which, it tended to use it for a lot of things. And obviously the dirt tracks were not very nice to an awful lot of G-bodies. So Kevin's a Cutlass fan. They had a 70 Cutlass. Classic Ride Society has owned his factory non-air 80 Monte Carlo since 2004. So he LS swapped it. So, I guess the only good thing about that is you didn't have to worry about the AC box and the LS swap when you did it, since it was a factory non-air car. Robert had a 79 Cutlass that he put a 455 in. There again, our G-body fans are out there. I love them. Like I said, I've still got my 78 Turbo Regal. So when I see this G-body stuff, I know I like it. I know a lot of you guys do. So definitely want to include that in and work it into our discussions. But obviously we've got I know we've got Scott on here. He's a Mustang fan. All this probably isn't his favorite one, but obviously a lot of the stuff we've seen in this magazine, a lot of the stuff in these issues from this era are black and white. Had some great color pictures, and it's a Mustang for Scott, although probably not his favorite one. It's a Fox body, the 79 Mustang Cobra. And like I said, if nothing else, they did actually get some really good color pictures of the car. So that stands out, looks good, and really stood out. Old School says there's a nice Grand National and Bring a Trailer right now with 6,000 miles. That's a car I'd love to have and want to buy at some time, just haven't gotten to it. But the road test data on the Mustang, and it was a V8 Mustang, it ran a 16.7 quarter mile at 82 mile an hour. The other thing that stood out was not only did they have nice color picture of the Mustang, they had a nice color picture of another car, also a Fox body that a lot of us probably don't remember, being the 79 Mercury Capri. So, so there again, Scott probably knows a lot more about these than I do. It was just really odd after obviously all of this black and white, everything black and white, to have nice, big, full color pictures. Yeah, Scott says they were cool. That's true. So, and they are neat little cars. And there again, stuff you don't see today. They were overshadowed. They were overlooked. And, those Cobras had a cool stripe package for their day. They were pretty neat. So, but that's what they were. And that's what that's what everybody had to work with. But they got overshadowed. They got overlooked. And now actually finding a cool one is tough. So definitely wanted to point that out, because there again, we're looking back at a different time. We're looking at stuff that for years was overlooked, and now it's cool because you just don't see it anymore. Scott brought one home today. He actually picked up an 83 Capri today. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah. And Classic Ride Society says that at first the 78 to 80, they still considered them an A body, is how GM considered them before they went to the G body. So, let's see, 65 F100 had a 79 Capri RS that he put a 302 in, which is, exactly what this is. That fact that Capri right there has the RS stripe package on it. So, maybe that probably brings back some memories for 65 F100. So, Robert has Cutlass had an 86 Monty SS rear end. Yeah, you had 86 Monty SS rear with a 455. That was probably a lot of fun. So, but the next article, we're going to catch one more G body article that is even cooler. We looked at the El Camino, or the GMC Diablo. We looked at the Cutlass, which obviously very common cars. One more G body article in this issue that I thought was really cool, and definitely something we don't see a lot of, and definitely something we don't think about a lot of, were the G body station wagons. Full article on all 4 G body station wagons. So even had a color picture of them, the Chevy, the Pontiac, the Buick, and the Oldsmobile all lined up, and it breaks it all down. And there again, we don't have time to get into all the stuff on this. Robert says Robert Kretz is a Fox body nut. He's got an 89 Silver Edition convertible. So hopefully that related to you. But this was so cool because it was all, the G body wagons, we just don't see them. All kinds of great pictures, compared all 4 interiors, had all 4 cars lined up with the hatches open on them. And, you just don't see any of these. I've got 2 Malibu wagons in the yard, and that's it. I don't have a Buick. I don't have an Olds. I don't have a Pontiac, nothing else in a wagon other than the, those couple of Malibus. Jason says he had an 84 Supreme that rode like a Cadillac, and there again, he's going to have another one too, because those cars are getting so popular and so cool. Classic Ride Sizes. Who remembers the G body hatchback? Well, I know I do, because the Cutlass 4, they've made a 442 version of it even as well. Once again, it never was overshadowed by the coupes, but there again, that G body was such a versatile platform. They did so many different things with them. And here again, it broke down all of the road test data for all 4 of them. So really neat there again, we're looking back in time and studying this different stuff that now is cool. 5 years ago, we would have never considered a G body article even anything worth mentioning. So I thought that was a really great piece. Classic Ride says they should have made a G body fastback. Man, I guess that hatchback was about as close as you're going to get on that. So anyway, that's kind of what I had picked out for some articles tonight. Let's get into some ads. Check out some of the ads that they were running back in this issue in August of 78, getting ready for the 79s to come out. And there again, finding something with color in it is kind of tough. Like Mr. Orange said, the Typhoon was, the GMC Typhoon was something else that was kind of overshadowed, something that doesn't get thought much about as well. Kevin says the 442s were awesome. That's true. 65 F100 up here in Michigan at my local dirt track in the 90s, they destroyed 20 or 30 G bodies every Saturday night. And that is 100% true. They were cheap. They were plentiful. You could do so much with the chassis on them to set them up for dirt cars. And they were destroyed literally by the thousands. So, and that's why they're tough to find today. But getting into the ads, Ford Lightning strikes twice, 2 unique personal cars in 2 sizes and 2 prices. The legendary Thunderbird and the dramatic new Futura. Like I said, for the lack of color in this magazine, any of these ads with a lot of good color in them kind of stand out, really. But at that point, it was expensive to do these in color. Number 1 says the G stood for G's, they were cheap. Back when they were building dirt track cars out of them, that's about what it amounted to. Another ad that kind of stood out, and this is a black and white ad, that in today's world is extremely common, and we don't even think twice about it. But this is 1978. Mobil One synthetic motor oil. Something most people weren't even familiar with the term at that point. But there again, just a black and white ad doesn't stand out as much. But there again, hearing synthetic oil 40-some years ago for as commonplace and almost an industry standard in a lot of new cars, how new and earth-shattering it was. And all this text is describing the advantages to the, using the synthetic oil. One more time, number 1, we caught the head earlier in the episode, so you can go back and get the whole story earlier. But that cylinder head is a flathead head off of a Cord V8 from 1936, 1937, 810, 812. Got that from our good friend Doug Prey at the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory. So super cool piece. And be sure to, after we get done, you can go back and rewatch the first part of it. The first 20 minutes, we went over that head quite a bit. Let's see. Yeah, that's right, Robert. They did the Monty and the Grand Prix Aero coupes. That did kind of look like a fastback, although it was just a huge window. But obviously that was done for NASCAR racing in the mid 80s, 86, 87, I believe, was when they did the Pontiac 2+2 and the Monte Carlo Aero Coupe. Number 1 says that Mobil One was formulated in Alberta. So that, let's see, old school. I don't get synthetic blend oils. Yeah, that's true. It's like a synthetic blend. You've got part conventional, part blend, and part synthetic. I don't know either of it. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the details of it. That Billy says that the dirt tracks have pretty much used up all the G bodies in his area, and that's happened in a lot of places. Classic Ride Side says love the 2+2 front end, and that's true. The Pontiac 2+2 in '86 did have its own unique front end styling as well. So we'll keep working through here. I'll keep an eye on your comments as we get to a few more ads and show you guys some more cool stuff. This is another color ad, and like I said, the color was kind of a big deal at that time for the Goodyear GT Radial. Once again, pretty big deal in its time. Shows a car on the racetrack, and of course this is 78, so they got to show it on a black Trans Am because that was about the hottest thing going at that time. So they had to show their tires off on a black Trans Am as well. Number 1 says synthetic blends are like sugar-free sodas. I guess that's one way to put it. Let's see. What else do we want to check out here? Some more cool ads. We didn't have any classifieds in this issue. Motor Trend wasn't doing them at that point. Here's something else a little bit off course. Once again, it was a color ad and it was a very elegant looking ad for the new Jaguar S-Type. So there again, not a lot of color in this issue, so some of these color ads stood out. Very subtle, but very pretty ad, really showing the lines and the design on the new Jaguar that was available at that point. The next ad I personally love, and I've got a reason for it. Plus the fact that it's just such a great ad. For the wheel makers, Keystone, the wheel makers. Obviously, everybody's familiar with the Keystone Classic. That's actually the wheel that I have on my Turbo Regal. That's what it had on it when I bought it in 1987 or 88. But there again, great full color ad. Big, happy, muscular, smiling guy with a big beard showing off the new wheels that Keystone has coming out. few examples of them on the car. Keystone, the wheel makers, really cool piece. And that's right, old school. Color print cost a lot, cost too much. So all these, the companies that went with the color ads, they were spending some bucks to do that. However, it did stand out, obviously, as we've looked at a ton of these articles and a ton of the pictures were all black and white. So the color did really stand out at that time. But, I'm sure you're right. They paid dearly for it. Next ad, how about a little comic relief? Something that I had completely almost forgotten about. And something, like I said, it's a car, that we don't really get into much foreign stuff in here. But this one I had to show you guys because I'm sure a lot of you are going to get a chuckle out of it. And it may bring back some memories for some of you, be it good or bad, about the Renault La Car. Something I had almost completely forgotten about. So, any ads for weird stuff like guard dogs, personal built helicopter plans, or colognes? There is a little bit of that in there, and I hadn't even thought about that, number one. A lot of times I just flipped over some of those. But I'll tell you what, I'll start working some of that weird stuff in because you bring up a good point. Some of that weird stuff was part of that day. So a lot of times I overlook that. I will try to make it a point to start pulling it. We'll try to squeeze a few weird ads in from here on out too. So thanks for bringing that up. Rick from Colorado's on with us. Glad you made it. Ironhead says some of those old wheels are worth a lot now, and that's true. A lot of people want their old look back, and they want their car to look like it used to. Old School says he loves the Le Car. One of his neighbors had one in the 80s. 65 F100. He wants some high karate. So we'll have to do that, especially when I get into some of these 70s magazines. I think the one I've got for next week is back in the 60s, but we'll definitely try to. Thanks for pointing that out. Number one, I'll make it a point, and we'll try to find a couple of really cheesy, weird ads and start incorporating those into the ad section as opposed to just strictly car stuff. I think that's a great idea because part of the reason we do this is the look back in time, the snapshot of that era and the snapshot of when these cars were either new or being customized as we look back now from today. So good point. We'll try to work some of that in, and great idea. Couple more ads we're going to catch. And I guess actually I do have one. I've got one non-car ad coming up. The last one we've got tonight is a non-car ad that I did work in, so we'll get to that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ironhead says hope it has an airbag. It doesn't look too safe. That's one thing about it. You didn't have a lot of room in a Le Car. Number one says, is there any Slacks ads with Chuck Norris? I don't think there were any of those in here. But this, another ad there again, kind of a little different for the era. But, well, for the era, we think it's different today. In the era, it was a new thing. America takes to the horizon the ad for the new Plymouth Horizon. There again, a small economy car. We just learned earlier in this magazine that the Chevettes were going bonkers. So obviously Chrysler at that point was struggling. So this was a pretty big deal for them to be able to come out with something to hopefully start playing ball. They had this advertised 41 miles per gallon highway, 27 city, $3,976 as shown. So does J.C. Whitney still have catalogs? I'm not sure. But I bet they probably do. I'm almost positive they're still going, but I haven't seen an actual J.C. Whitney catalog in a long time. Randy says Le Car, the French version, the early French version of the Yugo. Good point. Old School says Dodge Omni. That is correct. The Dodge version of the Plymouth Horizon was the Dodge Omni. So, yeah. Number one, I'm just telling you what it says. I'm just reading it to you. It says 41 mile per gallon on the highway. I'm just reading the magazine to you. I can't do anything for you there other than what it's telling me. So that's what I'm repeating what they were advertising. So the next cool ad we're going to look at, just a couple more. Kevin says, bring on the Gremlins. That's right. And Gremlins are getting popular. Gremlins and Pacers are getting popular. Sun test equipment. I mean, a lot of us are familiar with the big, large Sun engine analyzers. This is Sunburst, new engine and emission analyzers for home use. So, we see a lot of these at parts stores today where you plug in and read your codes, things like that. This was the beginning of do-it-yourself and, analyzing, I guess. But there again, even to read this stuff and to use this stuff, I mean, these actually have gauges, things like that. You'd have to know what you were reading. This isn't something where I don't think anybody could use and just make it work. Robert says he drove a Horizon to college. Yeah, 65 F100 says downhill with the motor off, and that's possible. Let's see. Number one says Lakar and Horizon, Honda and Datsun next. No, Honda and Datsun aren't coming up, so we're about done. I just thought those were it was so cool to bring those up and look at them. We've got one more ad, and it's kind of a cheesy one for you. Number one, Old School says he drove a K-car Dodge Aries. The K-cars for their day were a pretty big deal. Randy says he still has his Sunwell intact. So, one cheesy 70s ad. We're gonna get this one in for you. Number one was for the Panasonic stereo components. When it looks this good, who cares how it sounds? Panasonic does. The big, huge home stereo stuff in the late 70s. Pretty big deal. But I do like your idea, number one. So I'll try to purposely get a few more of those magazines. But anyway, that's kind of what I had for you guys on that stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it tonight. I hope you thought it was good content. Let's give away an oil can. Let's give away some Auburn pieces. Let's announce the new raffle, and then we'll talk about some new inventory. So we'll start off with tonight's raffle. Got another oil can from our good friend Mike Shook at Auto Artistry. This is another Phillips 66 Trop Arctic. He brought me a big tote of oil cans, various ones. There are several of these. We gave one of these away about a month ago, and there's still a couple more that we'll give away out of there as we keep working them in. But we'll keep working them in with different stuff. Got Mike's card on it. Be sure to check him out at Auto Artistry on Facebook or at autoartistry.com. Check out all the cool stuff that him and his crew do over there. They did build one. They did a full build for my dad. He's done a lot of work for me. He put my cab over together. So they crank out some cool stuff. So huge shout out to him for bringing me that huge tub of cans so we can share them with you guys and ship you one out. So Randy says he actually has that stereo system. He got it in 78 for a high school graduation gift. So, well, glad we could bring back some good memories for you, Randy. But there again, that's what's so great about the group on here is the conversation and just something like that somebody on here has that exact stereo. So anyway, there's the can we're going to send out tonight. Got some details on the back, a small logo on the back. This was SAE 1040, still sealed on the top. So that can is going out to tonight's winner of trivia. Yes, Ironhead, it is still full. I have not drained it yet. I don't drain them until after I give them away because I don't want sitting here on the desk dripping. I like to drain them and let them sit for a few days before I get ready to ship them. So, anyway, number one says, Randy, does the stereo sound as good as it looked then? Because that's what the ad said. So good point. Number one, glad you brought that up. You called him out on it. We'll see what he says. Ironhead says it probably rocks. Well, I'm sure it probably does because in the day, it had to. Mike just jumped on with us from New Waverly, Texas. Glad you made it tonight, Mike. Robert says he still remembers Lee Iacocca doing commercials that it's the country's first front-wheel drive sports car. So I don't remember those either, but I bet they're on YouTube. I bet you can look them up and come out. But anyway, tonight's trivia for the Phillips 66 oil can. If you caught the video on the Edsel, we put up the other night, I posted a video of the Pink 59 Edsel that I pulled out of a barn about a month ago. We posted a video of it in the barn, and when we pulled it out of the barn, that big old monster Caterpillar, which was a really cool piece of equipment as well. And then Hot Rod Magazine actually picked it up. If you haven't been to hotrod.com lately, be sure to go to hotrod.com. Hot Rod picked up the Edsel, did an article on it. And then I posted a video Friday night mainly because I was hanging out with my buddy Phil, and Phil is the Edsel expert. Phil has 14,000 Edsels documented in his database, so Phil's the Edsel guy. So I posted the Edsel video because I was hanging out with Phil. I was thinking about Edsels, but when we were looking at that Edsel, we did a full walk around on the car. There was a feature on that car that was very common to luxury cars of the era, but, Buicks, Cadillacs, Lincolns, Imperials, but something you very rarely seen on a more of a base car like the Edsel. What interior accessory did that car have that was not something you would commonly see on an Edsel? So keeping an eye out, and I'm going to keep an eye on. Oh, we already got a winner. David W. got it. He was right on top. It had a power seat. So, David, after we get done, give me a shout, and I'll get your information. So, David was right on that. Rick was right after him. But that was the feature we were looking for that definitely stood out about that Edsel. Thanks for playing, everybody. I appreciate it. Scott says, speaking of stereos, he's always looking for 2-knob Sony, Kenwood, Alpine, Panasonic radios. So, Scott must be doing something with the old school aftermarket radios as well. Randy says it still does. He's still got it in his man cave. It's just getting tougher to find 8-tracks. So, Robert says he worked at a Shell station in '79 and remembers Shell Fire and Ice. So, I don't know if we got any Shell Fire and Ice cans in there or not. But Jason says, I think he knew it was coming. I didn't tell anybody that. I just, but obviously he must have paid attention to the video and it stood out that it had that accessory on it, because I didn't have it in the text or anything. So if he didn't remember it, he would have had to have gone back and actually watched the video, because that's one thing I do when I do the trivia. I try to, I don't use something that I had in the title or something that was very blatantly obvious in the text. So he must have just been paying attention to the video. Edsel power seat, what functions and directions? I don't know if they went up and down or just back and forth, but it was a power seat, which was kind of different. Yeah, but Jason says he was pretty quick on the drop. Like I said, must have just paid attention to the video and it stuck with him. So David's our winner on that. We'll get that can out to him this week. Now, on to like David says, like David says, it was a cool option. So that's probably why it stood out to him and why he remembered it from watching the video. Now, time for the raffle. Time for this month's raffle. We got everybody's name in the big Buick oil can. Shake them up some more. They are all in there. I got everybody's name spliced up, cut up. Dropped one right there. We'll throw that one back in the can. Shake them up some more. I'm going to run through the list of who is in. If I do not read your name off, then something happened if you sent it. Dan says he can't text that fast. Number 1 says, good luck. That's right, old school. It's time for the raffle. Tim Lewis, I did get yours in the mail. Dan Buckman from Defiance, I got yours in the mail. Jason Withrow, you are in. Stan Brown is in. Scott Andrews is in. Mike Shook is in. Lee Carr, I did get both of yours, Lee. I did go back and I did find that because when you sent your second batch in, I did go back, so I've got you in on both of those, Lee. Just so you know, I did catch that. I've got Todd Andrews. I have Rob Servideo. Old school, got you in. I have got Kevin Hobart in. And there's Lee's other receipt for Lee Carr. And I've got Chris Powers in. So, if I didn't read your name off, there was some snafu somewhere, and be sure to get with me so we can get that straightened out for the next one. So, let's see. Some more comments popping up. 46 Lincolns had power seats and windows. Yeah, that was when that technology first started coming out, was in the late 40s. Jason said just pull his name and get it over with. Mike 60 T-Bird has Pete's power seats. Jess and Robert both said they missed it. Didn't get it out in time either. 5498 had power seats and windows. They were really cool accessories back in the day, and just not something very common. But anyway, if I didn't read your name in that last batch of all, this is everybody that either mailed or PayPal'd in payments. If I didn't read your name, I didn't get it, so get a hold of me so we can try to figure out what happened. I've had a few of you guys over the last few months just look up the yard address and send it to the yard at 332 North Highway 281. That's fine. However, the mail comes out there late in the afternoon, and I don't always get out there every day late in the afternoon. So sometimes it sits there for a couple of days before I get to it. That's why I basically have all the mail come to my shop in town, because I'm here every morning and I grab it right away. So the 522 Morton, as just like I put on the 522 Morton is the one I put in the text when I post this stuff. So, kind of keep an eye out and try to use the 522 Morton address. That works out the best. So let's give this stuff away. Huge shout out to Doug Prey, the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Company, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. If you guys have not checked them out, be sure to do it. Auburn Cord Duesenberg Company on Facebook. Check that page out. Give it a like. And I've been, I've been helping Doug with some of that stuff. They've got some really great stuff up there. They were taking the Cord Berlin to the Keels and Wheels Concours to have that car judged. Lots of cool stuff going on there. So there is the first cap that you're going to get. Brand new, not full of grease like a lot of these you find. Shelf wear, because, it's been laying on the shelf since the late 30s. So another brand new Auburn hubcap, wheel cap, grease cap, whatever you prefer to call them. Brand new as well. Plus the brand new, never been stamped, directly off the shelf from the Auburn company, new old stock Auburn ID tag. So there we go. Let's draw somebody's name out of here. No idea who's I'm going to get. We'll stir them up. We'll shake up the can. And let's see. I got one. I'm down to one. I think I'm down to one. I'm down to one. I'm down to one. Mike Shook. Actually, our can sponsor. Mike Shook out of Russell is our winner tonight. So congratulations to Mike. I will get that stuff to you. And some great pieces for his collection to hang up in his shop. So there's the big winner for the night for tonight. Mike Shook out of Russell, Kansas with Auto Artistry. So, and actually just because he's the can sponsor, he wasn't the only one in there, trust me. I had everybody else's names in there. There was a whole slug of them. However many chances you bought is however many names you had in there. So we'll dump the big Buick can out and we'll start on the next raffle. If you guys are ready for it, I assume we want to do it again. You guys keep playing. Maybe number one says we can get him to donate more cans now. So, but anyway, congratulations, Mike. And I know they're going to a good home, as any of this stuff does. That's why we do this. 65 F100's got a bail. Thanks for being here tonight. Old School says, who was the runner-up? Well, I don't have a runner-up prize. We can draw another one for a runner-up prize. We can draw a fake runner-up, but I don't know who. I don't know what to send the fake or the runner-up. But Stan Brown was the second name I grabbed out of the can. But that's so I guess if we had a runner-up prize, we had something for Stan, but I don't know what a runner-up prize was. So anyway, that's what we've got. Thanks for playing, everybody. Got to move the draws online and paperless for 21. But anyway, I assume we want to keep doing it. Actually, I'm hoping everybody says no. Don't do it anymore, because then I don't have to show you the next one I got picked out, because it's really cool and I really like it. But I assume we want to keep rolling with it. And I'll show you the next raffle piece that I've got picked out. So I guess we're ready to see it. I don't want to show it to you, but I guess I'm going to have to, because I done told you I would. We're going to give away a toy this month. A really cool toy. A toy that I really like. I picked this up yesterday at the swap meet. And George says, what's the 45 record behind you? Yeah, Kevin says, keep it going. Okay, real quick, the 45. We've talked about this before. We'll get it real quick because there's a couple of you are asking. This is a Johnny Cash 45 from Sun Records. When we went I got to go to the Sun Records studio in Memphis. Really cool deal. If you ever get down to Memphis, be sure to check out the Sun Studios tour. Really great, really awesome place. So here we go. This month's raffle is a Structo hydraulic dump truck. And it's beautiful. This is all original paint. I'm guessing it's a late 50s era. I'm not sure. Original tires, original paint. See the little lever right here? It even works. Yeah. End gate opens. Chassis is even beautiful. Bottom side's gorgeous. Still has the original tires and wheels. I don't know if you can make it out or not, where it has the Structo on the tires. You know, it's been rubbed a little bit. It's got a little bit of wear, but I'm guessing it's a late 50s piece. Has the Structo hydraulic dump on both sides. Like I said, tailgate flips open. Inside of the bed is even nice. This thing was not played with at all. Says it still have, I think this is a spring is what it is. Number one says once if it still has hydraulic fluid in it. It seems to be a spring-loaded mech in here is what I'm thinking. Obviously it's sealed up, it's stamped together. I'm guessing this is a spring in here, kind of by the way it acts. As you release it, it feels like a spring when you push it down. So I am guessing it is a spring-loaded piece, not an actual hydraulic dump. But obviously we get, a lot of good comments about it, and a lot of comments about it, about everybody's toy cases. Bates collects Buddy L's. No, hey Kevin, it's not radio controlled. That wasn't very common back in the day. In fact, the only thing that was remote control back in this era actually had a cord attached to it. So it's a beautiful piece. Like I said, when I found it, like Jason says, you have a hard time letting go. Robert says he's in. I bought a couple toys from this guy, and I bought some really cool pieces from him. Number one says, I don't think they're easy to find in this condition. They're metal, so I'm sure there's still some out there, but this thing is original. Finding one this good, this original, look, the inside of the bed's not even beat up on this thing. So, like I said, I bought a couple toys from this guy. Old School is a big press steel toy guy. That's cool. I love him too. And I was looking, and this guy had some really nice toys, and he was actually selling off part of his collection. He said, and he goes, I found some other stuff I want to buy, so I brought a few things here to the Lawrence Swap Meet to sell. I bought a couple things from him that I'm gonna keep, and then I bought a couple pieces that for the raffle. This being one of them, and I've got another really cool Wyandotte that I was gonna be for a raffle next month or the month after. If I decide to give it away, because I'm really regretting even showing you guys this thing because it's beautiful. Kevin says looks like an old Mac, and yeah, these were pretty generic back in the day. They didn't get real detailed as far as modeling them after a truck, but the condition on this thing is amazing. And that's right, Ironhead doesn't look like it's hardly ever been played with. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad you guys are excited about it. In fact, when I bought the toys from this guy, before I paid him, and he started handing, he goes, you're going to take care of this, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take care of them. And I told him I was going to, share a couple of them with you guys on the web show and raffle them off. That's right, Robert. It does kind of look like a COE, kind of a stub nose. But Yeah, you're right. I'm already regretting it, old school. You don't have to remind me. But I didn't have anything else on my desk to sub for it. I was like, man, for something else, I can give you a calendar or something like that off the wall. But and that's right. Like Doug says, a lot of those got left outside in the rain and they rusted. Finding something like this in this condition is amazing. And like I said, I've been telling myself all day, you bought it for the raffle, you bought it for everybody else, you got to stick with it. Ironhead says he has some gas-powered toys from that era. Yeah, like the tether cars. I remember some of those too. That's right. Number one says you don't have to like history, toys, or antiques to appreciate design and condition. That's true, 100%. Even if this isn't your cup of tea or your exact style or your era of toys, the condition on this thing is amazing. And like I said, that's why I hesitated greatly to show it to you. And I told myself 50 times today that you bought it for the raffle, you bought it for everybody else. That's the whole purpose. I didn't buy this the first time. I bought it after I went back, after I bought a few pieces for my daughter and myself. I have been telling myself all day, you bought it for the raffle. This is for Sunday night chat. This is for everybody else. You got to stick with it. So I've showed it to you now. So I've got myself backed in the corner. So we got to go with it. But anyway, there's the new one. My generosity will repay me tenfold, is what number one says. Well, I don't know, but they don't have a cool truck either. So, but it's a great piece. I really do like it. I did do a look. I looked them up a little bit. The Structo toys, they actually originally it was the Thompson Manufacturing Company. They were founded in 1908, and they changed their name to Structo in 1911. And the Structo came from they built a lot of toy sets that were similar to erector sets. So they were, kind of construction type sets. That's where they came out with Structo. And they came out with builder kits featuring roadsters, tractors, and dump trucks introduced in 1917. They eventually, Structo was sold out to Ertl, the Ertl company, which most of us are familiar with, the ERTL Ertl Toy Company, and in 1973. So that's when Structo basically ceased to exist as they were rolled into Ertl. Robert says send a calendar too. This is just a calendar I got off some bookstore to hang on the wall with cars on it, so it isn't too exciting. Yeah, Jess says that was somebody's collector toy, and it was. That's right, Doug. It is $1 per chance. Every dollar you send in, whether it be check, money order. A few of you have sent me cash, which is fine. If it gets lost in the mail, there's nothing I can do about it. Or PayPal at cse3@cox.net. That stuff is all on the text for the post. Kevin's on Facebook, says it's still cutting out. So Facebook is definitely not our friend tonight. There's still a few people on there. If you're still fighting it, you can still jump over to YouTube and catch us there. That's right. Robert says I'm committed now. So that's true. It is $1 chance. Every dollar you send in, put your name into the Big Buick can. $10 you go in 10 times, $20 you go in 20 times, $5 you go in 5 times. However many times you want your name in the Big Buick can to have the chance of being drawn out for the Structo hydraulic dump truck. That's how you do it. Old School says Nyland. I remember Nyland Toys is the New York Lynn Toys is where that came from. And actually, Nyland is coming back from what I've heard. I did have a call from that company that is reviving Nyland about some van stuff for some promotional items. So I have heard that Nyland is coming back. Kevin says, yes, that is at the end of May when we're going to give that away. So that will probably be May 30th is a Sunday night. We'll probably shoot for May 30th on that one. So we'll probably, our target date will be May 30th for this raffle. And then we'll announce the next one, and it may be another toy truck unless I keep it, because I might keep it because it's pretty cool too. Doug says, when is this? Yeah, May 30th is when we'll shoot for on this target date for this raffle. So you've got from now until May 30th. Like Jess says, I really bought it for me. And actually I didn't. I bought one toy specifically for me. And Then I bought a couple more for the raffle, but now I want to keep those too because they're cool and they're nice and they're good pieces. Number one says $10 Canadian is US $8.15. So okay, I didn't know what the exchange rate was. So Robert says just make some calendars for you guys. I have thought about that. I've actually got tons and tons of pictures, and I've always wanted to make a calendar, Robert, since you bring that up. I've been taking pictures of cars for years as I found them, pastures, tree rows, salvage yards, wherever I was dragging them out of. I'll take a picture of them before I loaded them. I've got tons of those pictures, and I always want to make a calendar of cars. In fact, I've got a file in my computer that is entitled Cars As Found, and it's picture after picture of cars as I found them. So one of these days, maybe I'll get to that. Ironhead says, have you seen the big red hot rod toy made by Marks? Possibly. I'm not sure. Kevin says, can we go for a runner-up prize? That's not a bad idea either. Maybe we'll get something smaller for a runner-up prize. We will look into that. And some of that also depends on how many chances we sell. Some of this stuff is we've got enough people playing to cover the cost and cover the shipping, but that's about it. If we get a few more people playing and things like that, we actually absolutely, I think a runner-up prize is a great idea. But like I said, I've got to have enough people playing along to help justify the expense too. So, and obviously it's not something I'm trying to get rich off of, but I don't want to go buy this stuff. Really, really, really want to keep it and then lose money and have to give it away at the same time. So that's kind of what I got to think about, on that, but that's a great idea. And I'm sure we'll try to find something, even if it's just something small for a runner-up prize next time. So that's a great idea as well. Let's see what else we got going on here. Some more comments. Car of the day calendar. So every day is about learning a new car. Wow, that'd be a big project. Number one, that'd be a possibility, but man, that'd be a lot of work. I'm sure we could do it, but Doug's got to bail off. Thanks for swinging by tonight. Thomas says that would be a cool calendar. Jason says he's got a couple hundred pictures of abandoned cars as well. So Robert says just go ahead and do it for next year. So we may try to do that. Oh, Ironhead says it's a 20-inch long T-bucket. I do remember those. I have seen those. I don't have that one, but I do remember that. So yes, I am familiar with which one you're talking about there. So anyway, a couple more things. We'll get some new inventory, talk about the videos for next week, and then we will bail off of here and let you guys get going. And that's a good idea too. Number one says maybe just paper or something so it's easy to ship and doesn't cost a lot. That's a good plan too. Maybe an extra magazine or something I've got. So we'll look at something like that. That's a good plan. We'll try to pick something out for a runner-up, and I'll see if I got something small laying around we can pencil in for that. We'll go over next week. So Kevin's got a bail too, as well as Old School, but thanks for stopping by tonight. New inventory stuff I picked up this week. Obviously, we'll have a lot of pictures coming from the Lawrence Swap Meet stuff that we bought there. And I picked up a couple of Dodges this week. I picked up a 49 Dodge pickup that I had bought about a month or two ago. Complete pickup, long bed, stainless grill bars. I've not had a set of stainless grill bars for that 48 to 50 era Dodge in years. These have some dings and dents and whammos in them, but they're all fixable grill bars. They're not perfect. They're going to need a little work, but just finding a set anymore is getting pretty tough. So had that come in. Mike says a grill badge would be a good runner-up prize. Yeah, that's a good idea too. We'll see what I got laying around, and maybe we'll put something little together, and we'll do a runner-up prize next time as well. So we'll get something figured out on that. So, and there again, I appreciate all your guys' ideas. This isn't just about me; it's about all of us. So I love your feedback, and a runner-up prize is something I hadn't thought about till you guys started bringing it up, and now you've got great ideas, just like the paper thing, a magazine or something where it wouldn't cost a fortune to ship. So great idea, and there again, all coming from you guys. That's what's important about it. Yeah, number one says get myself a new cup. Yeah, this one's about wore out, but it hasn't fallen apart yet. It's not leaking. So I got the 49 Dodge pickup, hauled in, and then I had a new one pop up last week that I just ended up getting 1968 Dodge half-ton short bed fleet side V8 automatic. Pretty much a complete pickup. The side moldings are gone off of it, but other than that, it's pretty much a complete pickup. And I didn't have anything in that era, 67, 68, 69 Dodge. I had nothing in that era of Dodge pickup, so I was definitely glad to get that picked up. Jason says maybe you could all send in pictures for a calendar too. Yeah, that's possible. When we can look at doing something like that. The worst part about calendars, I have checked on them, is they're expensive. They're a lot more money than you think to get them done. I mean, they're like $7, $8, up to $10 a piece to get them printed. You know, of course, depending on how many you order has a big effect on that. But I mean, to get a good quality calendar printed, you can be $10 a piece to do them. You know, unless you can order 100,000 of them, I'm sure you can get them cheaper. But I can't do that. So, but it's a possibility. Like I said, I've been thinking about it, so we'll see what happens a little later in the year. Number one says, yeah, it's like a Mopar muscle truck. Kind of was being a V8 automatic and a short bed half ton. So that stuff came in. We'll definitely get you some video shot on that as soon as I have time. What's coming up this week? I've got a video on the 54 Plymouth Belvedere that my buddy Mike dropped off a couple weeks ago. So we'll get that video out to you. I'm going to try I've got so much stuff to shoot that's been coming in that I haven't got you videos in yet. I'm going to try to get some of that stuff shot maybe tomorrow and get some of that stuff done and maybe for Wednesday night. But I've got a 35 Chevy truck. I've got that 79 Camaro we need to do a good walk around on. I've got a 39 Chrysler I picked up. Like I said, tons of stuff been pouring in. 49 Chevy 5-window pickup. I picked up a 67 to 72 Chevy cab and long bed last week. Lots of stuff I got to get videos on. So we're going to get some of that up for you this week. We'll definitely get the 54 Plymouth up for you. Like Mike says, car people make for a great, big, large family, and that's 100% true. And that's why we're all on here hanging out, having a great time every Sunday night. Ironhead says he's got a 55 Chevy Gasser he could send in. Mike's back on with us. Just saw he won the raffle. Robert says you guys would buy him. So Jason says, do I have a hood ornament collection? Absolutely, Jason. We have a pretty big hood ornament collection. We're going to need to get some of those out on Tuesday memorabilia videos, some of those hood ornaments. 'Cause I've got a lot of cool hood ornaments, bomb sight Buicks, Diamond T trucks, a lot of neat stuff like that. So definitely got some hood ornaments there that we can definitely show you. Chris says he's been looking for a nice stock 68 to 71 Dodge truck. Like I said, this one would need built, but it's pretty much an intact short bed V8, which is a pretty cool truck. And then Friday night, we'll have some more cool Auburn Cord Duesenberg Company videos for you. Like I said, I think I know we've got some cord stuff coming up. I need to go back through all the stuff I've got in the can that I shot. But we've got, like I said, we've got the video of the Cord engine and transmission, a completely overhauled unit sitting on the stand where Doug walks us around it and points out all of the awesome stuff about the supercharged Cord V8 and the front wheel drive transmission. We've got a video where we showed a car with the covers off the transmission, where we showed the car shifting, and then Doug took us over to our overhauled unit on a stand and showed us what the transmission was doing to shift. So that's what's so awesome about it, because that car was so technologically advanced for its era, and that's something that you just don't ever get to see. We get to see it shift in a running car, sitting there in the shop as it is actuating, and then Doug shows us what happens with it and how it goes. Let's see. Number one says, do you think the future truck testicles would be a Car Guy collectible? I'm not sure where we're at there. Must have been, I don't know, something corrected or something on you there, but I think the guys that all have it hanging off the back of their trucks. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Jason says probably not, and I seriously just doubt they will be either. Ironhead says maybe just the brass ones. So yeah, because I see a lot of guys driving around with the big plastic testicles hanging off the back of their trucks. So I don't have any on any of my trucks. I don't really see the point, but it's a good kind of interesting comment. So, but anyway. Some really cool cord stuff coming up. Lots of stuff still from the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory to show you. Stuff from their restoration facility, their blasting facility, restored cars. Some of the most stunning, beautiful, amazing cars you've ever seen are coming up. So lots of cool stuff coming up there. Like number one says, people collect funeral lights. And yeah, that's true. And like the signs, the funeral parking signs, a lot of that stuff is pretty collectible today as well. So neat stuff. Anyway, that's basically about what I've got for you guys tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys had fun. And thanks for coming by. It means a lot. I'm glad you guys do. Still amazes me that you do, but we've got a great crowd on here. Obviously, we had a ton of Facebook issues tonight. And obviously, Facebook kind of petered out on us, and I think it's just because the feed got so bad. But a lot of you were able to jump over to YouTube and catch us there. I thank you for that, and we stayed caught up and kept rolling with it. We had a ton of fun tonight, and it was all because of you. We get to give away an oil can, we get to give away some cool memorabilia, and we got another raffle coming up. I'm having a blast with this. Like Dan says, they were way ahead of their time. Probably woke up the big three. And that's what happened with a lot of those companies. They were, their advancements, the big three got scared of them, just like Tucker. And that could be 100% correct, Dan. A lot of that, some of that could have happened, that they are coming up with this stuff that, the other ones aren't thinking of. So there's probably some truth to that statement as well. So anyway, I'll keep an eye on comments here for another minute or so as we wrap up. As always, thanks for stopping by tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of fun with you. Stay tuned. We will get probably put the Plymouth video up tomorrow night. We'll do the Toy Tuesday, which will be some toys that I am keeping that I got at the Lawrence Swap Meet. And yeah, number one says Tesla, Ford, and GM into more electric vehicles, and there's probably some truth to that statement as well. And then Wednesday night, I've got some other stuff in the can as well, but I've got to get some of this new inventory shot. The 63 Chevy pickup, I got that custom cab 63 Chevy I picked up. Like I said, tons of new inventory. I've got to get some video shot on and start getting it out to you guys. I'm having fun doing it. I know you guys enjoy it, and it's been a blast. And like I said, tons more cool ACD stuff coming up. Number one says he's going to call this week. That's great. Sounds good. Just give me a shout. Vix on says thanks. I appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate all of you guys. Everybody that gets on here every Sunday night with us is what makes this happen. It's not me. It's not me sitting here in front of my webcams talking on the computer. It's every single one of you that come back every single week and engage, and the camaraderie and the help, and and the people, the way you guys talk back and forth, and we all get involved, and we share memories and we share knowledge, and that's what's great about it. Jess says she loves the ACD videos as well. Thanks to all you guys. I know a lot of you were thanking me, but it's you guys are what make it happen. I know, and like I said, I don't have time to respond to all the on Facebook, both Facebook pages, the YouTube channel, Instagram. There's just no way to keep up with all of it. So Robert George says, get the olds yet? I assume we're probably talking about the 55, because I know that's kind of about what your year is, because I sold you some stuff for it. I have not picked that car up yet, if that's the one we're talking about. He doesn't have it dug out yet. But like I said, this is, I do see some of the comments, not all of them, and I do appreciate your guys' support. I do appreciate you telling your friends about us and getting them to jump on with us. But that's what makes it work. That's what makes this thing tick. It's all of you guys and all your support and all your interaction and all your help and your ideas. I love your ideas as well. Just like let's come up with a runner-up. So let's do it. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you took some time out of your Sunday evening to hang out with me. Stay tuned. More cool stuff coming up this week, and hope to see you live on Toy Tuesday night on YouTube on the Nobody Show channel. Jason says he doesn't make it every week, but he tries to work afternoons and during the week and watches when he can. That's great. And like I said, I'm just amazed that any of you guys jump on here and hang out with me. That's the crazy part about it to me. But that's what makes it great, and that's what makes it fun. And so, like I said, stay tuned. More cool stuff coming up. Be sure to jump on with this Toy Tuesday, and I'm going to show you some stuff that I am going to keep, and you're not going to talk me out of it, because it is going to go in my private collection, because I did get a couple of really cool toys this weekend that I am going to keep. So anyway, I done stuck my foot in my mouth. I done showed this to everybody, so I'm kind of stuck. There's not much I can do about it other than play with it while I've got it before it goes to its new home, which will be with one of yours. Number one says more yard walks with my daughter. Actually, that is something we need to do. It's been about a month since I did the last one. So hopefully if we get a good day next weekend, we may try to squeeze one of those in. But that is a good point. Number one, it's been 4 or 5 weeks since we did a yard walk. I've brought in a ton of new inventory since then. So we will, stay tuned. I'll try to get one of those worked in hopefully this weekend or next weekend if we get a nice calm day where we don't have a ton of wind, where we can go out and get that knocked out too. So that's right, Ironhead. It's going to go to a new home at some point. I don't like the fact that it's going to go to a new home, but I opened my mouth, I stuck my foot in, so we're going to give it away May 30th. Jason says, yeah, it's going to his home. So anyway, we'll go ahead and bail off. I know you guys have stuff to do. I've got stuff to do. As always, thanks for coming by. Super appreciate it. You guys are the ones that make this happen. Hope to see you tomorrow night on the new video Plymouth, and definitely hope to see you live Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time for Toy Tuesday. And thanks for watching, everybody. It means a lot to me. Glad you had fun tonight. Let's have a lot more fun stuff coming up over the next several weeks. It's been a blast, and we're going to give some more stuff away. I don't want to give away, but we'll do some more next week. Hope to see you all back here next Sunday night for sure. 7 o'clock, Sunday night live chat, 7 o'clock Central Time. Tell your friends, have them jump on, join us, have a great time with us, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you got any questions, always give me a shout. Thanks for being here, and we will see you all next week.